Welcome to a Week 16 edition of Down and Out with our very own Dr. David Chao as we spin around the NFL, giving you the latest injury news and updates brought to you by BetParks. And Doc, let's talk about some quarterbacks. We always talk about, going into the postseason with some confidence, with some momentum, and most importantly, healthy. Not so sure that's the case with the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts already ruled out for this weekend. The Eagles going to start Gardner Minshew against the Dallas Cowboys. But walk us through what that shoulder injury looks like, what he can do to get back on the field before the postseason.
Yeah, this one, look, anytime it's a throwing shoulder, there's concern, right? And he's right now potentially the league MVP. We'll see if it ends up that way. But I'm not concerned about this at all. He fell on his right shoulder. It appeared to be a mild AC joint sprain, separated shoulder. This was with 1:13 left in the third quarter. He played the entire fourth quarter and played well. And I think this is just a chance to rest him a little bit, chance to avoid further injury. He could take an injection and play. I'm very confident of it. I think he'll play next week, as a matter of fact. Look, you can't rest him the 3 weeks, final weeks of the regular season, rest him for the bye, and then play. That's like 5 weeks off. I mean, in terms of tempo and other things, you could speak to that more, et cetera. But I don't think I'm that worried about it. And you have to also know that the Eagles, and I say this in a complimentary way, not critical way, have been masters at manipulating the roster and system and rest. Remember what they did last season for the final game of the season when it didn't matter to them. They had everyone tested for COVID and they put like a dozen people on the COVID list, which gave them much more room to sub players and much more room to rest veterans before the playoffs. And I'm not saying that that was wrong or bad. It was within the confines of the rules. But the Eagles play these games, and I think that's kind of what they're doing with Jalen Hurts.
I'd feel a lot better if it was a non-throwing shoulder. Walk me through injecting a quarterback's throwing shoulder prior to the start of a game. My sense is it has to be a little bit earlier in the process so we can go out and get warmed up, and that medication can kind of do its job.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, right? I mean, look, no offense. I don't know how many of these you've gone through, but if you're Rich Gannon, you probably have been through it and are used to it and can take it a few minutes before the game, before the warm-up, because you know that it's going to be okay. A younger player that hasn't been through it, they might want it before their warm-up out on the field to know it's okay. The only downside of doing that, depending on metabolism, whatever, sometimes you have to do a touch-up or extra at halftime because it doesn't last the entire window when you're running around, et cetera. And the biggest effect in that is you don't get to practice. For a Rich Gannon, I don't think not practicing is that big of a deal. I don't know how much of a deal it is for a younger guy like Jalen Hurts. Maybe he's used to it and he can roll without it. But some guys, as you know, need the practice, need to feel like they're in the routine and the game plan and to have the rhythm. Some can just show up Sunday and play, and it depends on the type of guy that you are and perhaps how long you've been in the league and how comfortable you are.
Jacksonville won again last night. If they win out, they will win the AFC South, which is amazing. You look at the Tennessee Titans, they're scrambling right now, Doc. They've lost 4 straight games. Ryan Tannehill's already been ruled out with that ankle injury. He's got a history of having ankle injuries. What's the chances we see him next week?
Well, I think it was a pretty significant high ankle sprain in game. And quite honestly, in our command center, we were more surprised that he returned to the game than that he's missing this week. I mean, he really limped through and was fairly heroic there. High ankle sprains, it depends on how much it swells overnight. So there's no guarantee he's going to be there next week. And obviously, they're setting up for a Jaguars-Titans showdown in the final week to perhaps make the playoffs there. But, Jacksonville's done well recently. They've been on the uptick here. However, you got to have to worry that injuries might get them. They survived not having Cam Robinson, their left tackle, last night. They survived not having their first-round draft pick at linebacker in the game. But now they lose a key defensive lineman, Smoot, to what appeared to be, towards the end of the game, a right Achilles tendon rupture. So they're hitting injuries not the best time of the season for them.
Another team in danger of missing the postseason, the Baltimore Ravens, and certainly you could attribute that to the issues they're having right now at the quarterback. Lamar Jackson still out with a knee injury. Tyler Huntley has a shoulder injury. Walk us through what's happening inside that Ravens facility as they try and find a way to get a W this weekend.
Well, we said on this, your show here that weeks ago that it was a PCL sprain for Lamar Jackson, and he was going to be out multiple weeks and would be lucky to return in late December. That's where we are right now. He's not playing. This will be the third week. Can he get in next week? We'll see. And now it's Tyler Huntley. But the Ravens have injuries all over the place, right? They're well documented. And look, at wide receiver, Devin Duvernay with a Jones-type fracture. And so they have number 1 and number 2 out. Bateman already out. And they signed Sammy Watkins, a Green Bay Packers cast-off. The Green Bay Packers have not been exactly loaded at wide receiver. A cast-off from the Packers is signed and will play this week. Now, he was with the Ravens before, so he probably knows the playbook, etc. But that just shows you their state of affairs. And defensively, with some key injuries too. Calais Campbell, out, and then the Marcus Peters with the calf. He was always struggling a little bit coming back from the ACL. So the Ravens continue to be pretty banged up, and it's been an up and down all season. Every time they seem to turn the corner, here comes down again.
All right, Doc, let's finish with a bit of good news around the holidays for the Washington Commanders. They've got the 49ers this weekend, but they're going to get back their Pro Bowl defensive lineman Chase Young, who hasn't played all season, had the ACL repair last year. What can we expect from a player who hasn't played all season, has missed a ton of practice time? I guess you're always concerned about his conditioning. I'm sure they're going to have to monitor his reps and play time this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't expect a lot out of Chase Young. The fact that he's going to be on the field is fantastic. And we're going to do a story at Sports Injury Central, SICScore.com, detailing how much more than an ACL it was. It was a right knee ACL and patella tendon. There was enough damage to the right knee that they had to take the graft for the ACL from the left knee. So He posted an Instagram photo recently of both knees in braces after his surgery, right? I mean, so you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. There's so much damage on one side, he went to the other side to get the graft. And that's why his recovery has been a long time. I wouldn't say his recovery has been slow. If anything, his recovery has been fast, given the amount of injuries that he's had. So unfortunately, I don't know that we can expect a lot out of Chase Young right now.
Doc, that's unusual. I mean, walk us through the percentages. I mean, in terms of, an orthopedic surgeon like yourself having to go to the unaffected knee and grab part of that patella tendon to reconstruct the injured knee. The percentages that's the case. And secondly, as it involves the uninvolved knee that you take the patella tendon from, what's that rehab look like? In other words, if we just focus on the where we got the graft from, what's the rehab look like for that knee?
Yeah, well, first of all, the reason why you do it is your own tissue, autograft we call it, versus cadaver from a dead body, works better and incorporates better. The graft has to incorporate into your body, and your own tissue incorporates better than some other person's tissue. Better results, lower failure rates. That's why you search for your own body tissue. When there's not enough on the same knee, you have to go to the other knee. And look, the first couple weeks, no fun. I mean, you're literally in a wheelchair, right? But the bottom line is the opposite or left knee recovery is a lot quicker than the right knee recovery. So you do catch up, and it does make medical sense. But I would say that the chances of needing this or having to do this are probably as often as the Stanford marching band lateral play working to score a touchdown.
Oh, so
it's not that common that you do
You're talking less than 5% for sure.
Oh, yeah, less than 5% for sure. And I make that comment given the Patriots-Raiders game ending. That didn't work out so well. I'm saying it's less common than one of those throwback plays working for a touchdown late game. Not very often at all.
The one you want to avoid for sure. Well, there you have it. Another edition of Down and Out with our very own Dr. David Chao, brought to you by Bet Parks. Tune in on Monday as we give you the latest injury news and updates from around the NFL.